All right, so congrats. We're diving into this project, and it wants to tell the story of Jesus to a whole new generation in Australia.
Okay.
And you won't believe how they're doing it.
Ah,
Animation.
wow.
Yeah, we're talking about the Jesus Project, led by Young Go under Power to Change Australia.
Right.
They've put together this really fascinating partnership opportunity presentation, and their goal is pretty ambitious.
Sounds like it.
They want to reach 3 to 5 million Australians
Wow.
with this animated film about Jesus focusing mainly on youth and families.
That's a lot of people.
It is, it
So
is.
what's the reasoning behind targeting young people specifically?
Well, that's what's so interesting about this.
Okay.
The document really highlights this long-term impact you see.
Hmm.
Historically, young people have been more open to the gospel message. And get this, those who find faith in their younger years are statistically more likely to stay devoted throughout their lives.
Oh, wow. That's pretty incredible.
It's like planting a seed that could grow for a lifetime.
I like that. It's almost like a spiritual investment in Australia's future.
Exactly. And they're not just relying on any old medium to do this.
Yeah.
They're choosing film,
Okay.
a powerful way to tell stories and connect with people emotionally.
And it's been proven to work. They actually reference the success of the 1979 Jesus film, which was distributed to millions in Australia alone.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
Clearly, it resonated with people back then.
And now they're taking it to the next level with animation.
Makes sense. Animation's huge.
It is, think about it. 8 of the top 10 highest grossing movies in 2024 were animated.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a format that appeals to everyone, but especially to younger audiences and families, which happen to be the target audience for this project.
It seems like they've thought this through pretty well.
They have, and to make it even more impressive, they've got a really diverse array of partners already on board.
Oh, really? Like who?
You've got big names like the Anglican Church,
Mhm.
World Vision YouthWorks, Scripture Union, so many more.
That's pretty impressive. So it has a broad base of support, which is really crucial for a project of this scale.
Definitely, and it's fascinating how it brings together groups that might not always see eye to eye,
Yeah.
united by this common goal.
It's like they're building a bridge across different parts of the Christian community.
Exactly, and the list goes on and on. You've got denominations like ACC, Anglican, Baptist, Catholic. Basically, the whole gang is here.
Wow.
And then on top of the organizations we already mentioned, there's the Australian House of Prayer, Compassion, and so many more. It's really remarkable.
The document actually refers to this as a John the Baptist phase.
Uh-huh. What does that even mean?
Well, John the Baptist was the one who prepared the way for Jesus.
Right, right.
So I guess they're saying that this project is about laying the groundwork for what they see as a future wave of new believers.
Like they're setting the stage for something big.
Exactly. It's about preparing the church for a future harvest of souls and more effective disciple making, accelerating the fulfillment of the Great Commission.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. So it's like they're assembling this team of believers to spread the message far and wide.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
And speaking of leadership, the driving force behind this ambitious project is Young Go.
Okay, Young Go.
And looking at his background, it seems like he's uniquely positioned for this challenge.
In what way?
Well, he's the National Project Director for Power to Change.
That's a pretty big role.
It is, and he has this really interesting connection to the original Jesus film from the 90s.
Oh, really? What's the connection?
He was actually involved in distributing those million VHS copies we talked about earlier.
Oh, wow. That's a direct link.
Yeah, and beyond that, he has experience in both commercial and nonprofit leadership roles and a strong emphasis on partnership building.
That seems crucial for a project that relies so heavily on collaboration.
It's like he's bringing this really unique blend of experience to the table.
Definitely sounds like the right person for the job.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this vision.
Okay, let's hear it.
What are they hoping to achieve with this whole thing?
Yeah, what are their goals?
Well, they've set some pretty ambitious targets.
Like what?
They want to reach 1.25 million children aged 9 to 12 through their families.
Wow, that's a huge chunk of young minds they're aiming for.
It is a huge chunk, and when it comes to faith, they're aiming for over 200,000 salvation decisions.
They're not messing around.
They're not, but it goes beyond that too.
Right.
They want to train over 10,000 Christians in evangelism and discipleship.
So it's not just about showing the film. It's about equipping people to carry the message forward.
Exactly. It's about giving them the tools to share their faith and make a difference in their communities.
That's pretty amazing.
And they're not stopping there. They're talking about citywide campaigns across Australia, developing new digital tools, and even integrating the film into special religious education, SRE.
SRE. That's interesting.
They think they could potentially reach an additional 225,000 children weekly through SRE.
Wow, that's a lot of kids.
It is, and get this, they're even considering using
VR or virtual reality.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Imagine how immersive that could be for those SRE programs.
Exactly. They're really thinking outside the box.
Definitely a sign of their commitment to innovation. They're looking at ways to make the experience more impactful, especially for young people.
It's clear that they're putting a lot of thought and effort into this project.
They are. But let's be real here for a second. They've laid out these grand plans, but how on earth are they going to pay for all of this?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
Well, they're pretty transparent about the financial commitment required.
Okay, good.
They have a budget of $300,000 per year for 3 years, which adds up to $900,000.
All right.
Their larger fundraising goal is 3 million AUD, which translates to about US $2 million.
That's a serious chunk of change.
It is, but I guess when you consider everything they need to cover, church and school mobilization, media partnerships, digital marketing, even cinema distribution, it starts to make sense. True, they're not leaving any stone unturned.
And the document actually outlines 8 key areas. This funding will support church mobilization schools, individual mobilization, media partnerships, partnerships with other Christian organizations, digital and online marketing, cinema distribution, and resource development.
So they're really covering all their bases.
They are, and they're not just looking for big donors either.
That's good.
They're calling for partnerships with churches, trusts, and what they call champions of the vision at various giving levels.
So they're really trying to get everyone involved.
Exactly. They're even encouraging people to support them with monthly donations.
It's a grassroots approach, for sure.
It is, and it's really inspiring to see.
It is.
But before we move on, let's talk about the context here for a second.
Okay, context.
What's the spiritual landscape like in Australia right now?
Right, because that's the key, isn't it? Why is a project like this even necessary?
Exactly.
Well, the document describes Australia as spiritually dry, especially among young people.
That's concerning.
It is, and unfortunately, the statistics paint a pretty stark picture.
Yeah, it's true. The number of Australians identifying as Christian has been steadily declining.
Give me some numbers.
Back in 1911, it was a whopping 96%.
96%, wow.
2011, it had dropped to just 61.1%.
That's a massive shift in just a century.
It is a massive shift, and it's not just about identification either. Church attendance has also plummeted, especially among young people.
Oh, wow. How much has it dropped?
It's down from 36% to a mere 15%.
15%? That's really low.
It is, and it suggests not just a generational shift, but perhaps a deeper disconnect with traditional forms of religious engagement.
It's like there's a growing gap between young people and the church.
Exactly, and that's why a project like this is so crucial.
I agree. They're stepping into a challenging landscape.
They are, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they navigate it and reconnect with a generation that seems increasingly detached from faith.
Definitely. This is going to be an interesting one to follow.
It is so. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore the potential challenges and opportunities of the Jesus Project.
Can't wait. You know, it's remarkable how they connect the need for this project with their vision and this clear plan of action.
Right.
But what really stands out to me is this emphasis on sustainability.
Oh, interesting.
This isn't just about making a film.
Right.
It's about fostering a lasting movement.
I see. So it's not just a one-off thing.
Exactly. They're thinking long-term.
That's really smart because a film is great.
Yeah.
But you need that follow-up to keep people engaged.
Absolutely. It's not just about showing the film.
Right.
It's about equipping people to keep the conversation going and nurture those seeds of faith they're planting.
So they're investing in training resources, digital tools, things like that.
Exactly. Things that will help the impact of the film extend far beyond the initial viewing.
That's a great point. I hadn't really thought about that.
It's a crucial part of their strategy.
They've presented a really compelling case so far. But I'm curious about your take on the potential challenges they might face.
The challenges.
Any project of this scale is bound to encounter some hurdles along the way.
That's true. That's true.
So what do you see as some of the biggest obstacles they might have to overcome?
One potential challenge I see is navigating the diverse landscape of Christian denominations in Australia.
That makes sense. You've got this impressive list of partners,
Yeah.
but getting everyone on the same page and working together effectively could be tricky.
It could be. You've got different theological perspectives,
Right.
different approaches to sharing the faith. It could require some careful maneuvering.
Absolutely. It's like trying to herd cats sometimes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that. Another challenge I foresee
Mm-hmm.
is cutting through the noise in today's media-saturated world.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And is how do you capture the attention of young people
Right.
who are constantly bombarded with entertainment options?
It's tough. They've got so many things vying for their attention.
They do video games, social media streaming services. The list goes on and on.
Exactly. So how do you make a film about Jesus stand out from the latest superhero flick or video game?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is, and that's where their choice of animation becomes particularly strategic, I think.
It does, because as we discussed earlier, animation has a proven track record of engaging younger audiences.
And it can make stories accessible and relatable,
Mm-hmm.
even those dealing with complex themes.
Exactly, and we can't forget the potential of VR to create a truly immersive experience.
Oh, yeah. VR, that could be a game changer.
Especially in those SRE settings.
Absolutely. By embracing new technology in innovative ways,
Yeah,
they can create a more impactful and memorable experience for young people.
for sure.
But even with top-notch technology and captivating storytelling, there's still the challenge of reaching those who might be skeptical or indifferent to faith.
That's true. You're always going to have that segment of the population.
So how do you break through those barriers? How do you reach the hearts and minds of those who might not be initially receptive?
Well, that's where their focus on training and discipleship comes into play.
Ah,
By equipping Christians with the tools and confidence to share their faith in authentic and relatable ways, they can create a ripple effect.
so it's not just about passive viewing, it's about active engagement and spreading the message.
Exactly. It's about turning viewers into ambassadors.
That's a powerful concept, and that's where the true potential for transformation lies.
I agree. It's about empowering people to own their faith and share it with others.
It's inspiring to think about the potential impact this project could have, not just on individuals,
Yeah.
but on the entire spiritual landscape of Australia.
Imagine a generation of young people reconnected to faith, equipped to share their beliefs, and actively involved in making their communities better.
That would be incredible.
It would be like a breath of fresh air for the Australian church.
Exactly. So let's circle back to the document for a moment.
Okay, back to the document.
Anything else jump out at you as particularly noteworthy?
One thing that caught my eye was their emphasis on measurable outcomes.
Oh, that's interesting.
They're not just hoping for some vague sense of impact.
Right.
They've set specific goals for things like salvation decisions, discipleship training, engagement with various programs.
So they're focused on accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And proving that their efforts are yielding tangible results.
That level of transparency is so important, especially when you're asking people to contribute financially to a project of this magnitude.
Absolutely. It builds trust and confidence, which are crucial for long-term sustainability.
Speaking of sustainability, they mentioned a Christian film fund
Yes, the Christian Film Fund.
with a fundraising target of 3 million AUD.
That's ambitious.
It is. So what's the purpose of that fund?
Well, it's essentially a long-term investment in creating and distributing faith-based films in Australia.
I see. So the Jesus Project is just the first step.
Exactly. It's the first step in a larger vision to leverage the power of film to engage audiences with the Christian message.
So they're laying the groundwork for a movement that will continue producing impactful content for years to come.
That's the goal. They want to create a lasting legacy that will shape the spiritual landscape of Australia for generations to come.
It's an audacious vision, but based on the passion, commitment, and strategic planning they've demonstrated so far, I wouldn't bet against them.
I agree. They've identified a significant challenge, and they're approaching it with thoughtfulness and determination, which gives me confidence in their ability to succeed.
So we've covered the why, the how, and the what of the Jesus Project.
We have.
But I have to ask, what do you think the long-term impact of this project could be? What's the best-case scenario?
That's a fascinating question.
It is.
If this project reaches its full potential,
Mm-hmm.
I think it could spark a spiritual revival in Australia.
Spiritual revival. Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is imagine a generation of young people rediscovering their faith,
Mm-hmm.
equipped to share their beliefs,
Right.
and actively engaged in their community.
That would be incredible.
It's like a domino effect, starting with individual hearts and spreading outward to transform families, communities, and eventually the entire nation.
That's a beautiful vision.
It is, and it's one that's worth striving for.
Absolutely. So, what would be some specific signs that this project is truly successful in the long run? What should we be looking for?
One clear indicator would be a resurgence in church attendance, especially among young people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If this project really does reconnect a generation with faith, we should see a noticeable uptick in those seeking out spiritual communities.
That would be a tangible sign that something profound is happening.
Absolutely. Another sign would be a change in how people talk about faith in Australia.
Interesting. Go on.
If this project takes off,
Hmm.
it could help to make conversations about spirituality more normal and create a more open and accepting environment for people to explore their beliefs.
That would be a major step forward.
It's not about forcing beliefs on anyone,
Right.
but
Yeah.
creating a space where faith can be discussed openly and respectfully.
It's about fostering a culture of curiosity and dialogue.
Exactly, rather than judgment and division.
And beyond the numbers and cultural shifts,
Yeah.
what about the individuals whose lives are touched by this project?
Right, the human element.
What kind of personal transformations might we see?
Imagine young people discovering a sense of purpose and belonging through their faith.
Okay.
Imagine them finding hope and guidance amidst life's challenges.
Mm.
Imagine them using their talents and passions to make a positive difference in their communities.
Those are the stories that truly matter.
It's about empowering individuals to live lives filled with meaning, compassion, and a desire to serve others.
It's about helping young people unlock their full potential and contribute to making the world a better place.
Exactly. It's about nurturing their hearts and minds and giving them the tools to make a difference.
We've talked a lot about the logistics and the big picture goals of this project, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to reaching individual hearts. And I'm curious, what do you think the experience of watching this film will be like for a young person in Australia?
It's a great question to consider. Imagine a young person, maybe someone who's never even heard the story of Jesus before, or maybe someone who's grown up hearing about Jesus, but hasn't really connected with the faith personally.
Right.
They sit down to watch this animated film, and suddenly they're transported to a different time and place.
Okay.
They're seeing Jesus not as some distant figure from history,
Hmm.
but as a real person with emotions and struggles and triumphs just like them.
It's about making the story relatable and helping them see how it connects to their own lives.
Exactly. And the beauty of animation is that it can evoke a sense of wonder and curiosity. It can spark a sense of recognition. Maybe they'll connect with Jesus' compassion for those who are marginalized or his courage in the face of adversity.
It's like planting a seed that has the potential to blossom over time.
Right. And that's why the follow-up and discipleship aspects of this project are so vital.
Mm-hmm.
If they can provide a supportive community and resources for further exploration, they can nurture that initial spark into a lifelong journey of faith.
It's about creating a safe space where young people feel comfortable asking questions, wrestling with doubts, and ultimately finding their own path to faith.
It's not about forcing beliefs on anyone. It's about empowering them to discover their own truth.
I love that perspective. So much of this project is about giving young people the tools and the freedom to embark on their own spiritual journeys. And who knows where that might lead them. Maybe they share their faith with their friends and family. Maybe they become leaders in their community or advocates for positive change in the world.
The possibilities are endless when you equip someone with a sense of purpose and a feeling of belonging.
That's the beauty of this project. It's not just about telling a story, it's about igniting a movement.
It's about setting off a chain reaction of hope, compassion, and transformation that has the potential to spread far and wide.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Jesus Project, I have one final question for you, and it's a big one.
Okay, hit me with it.
Do you think this project can actually work? Can they really pull this off and make a difference in the spiritual landscape of Australia?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, no one can say for sure, but what I do know is this project is fueled by passion, collaboration, strategic planning, and a deep desire to share a message of hope and love with young people. They've assembled a talented team, built strong partnerships, and developed a comprehensive plan to tackle both the immediate and long-term challenges.
So you're saying there's genuine potential for success here. This isn't just a pipe dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if they only achieve a portion of their goals, the impact could be significant.
Yeah.
Imagine thousands of young people discovering a sense of purpose and belonging through faith. Imagine churches revitalized with a new generation of engaged believers. Imagine a ripple effect of compassion and service spreading throughout Australian society.
Those are outcomes worth working towards.
They certainly are. And I believe the Jesus Project has the potential to make those outcomes a reality.
Well, I have to say, I'm feeling incredibly inspired by this whole thing. It's exciting to see such a bold and ambitious vision taking shape, and it really does feel like it could be the start of something truly special.
It does. It speaks volumes about human ingenuity and the enduring power of the Christian message to connect with people on a deep level.
It's a reminder that even in a world that can sometimes feel dark and divided, there's always hope for positive change.
And sometimes that change starts with a single story, beautifully told and shared with a generation longing for meaning and connection.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thanks again for walking us through this deep dive into the Jesus Project. It's given us a lot to think about, and I'm sure our listeners will feel the same way.
It was my pleasure. I always enjoy exploring initiatives that have the potential to make a positive impact on the world.
And to our listeners, we'll leave you with this. Keep an eye on Australia. Something truly special might be brewing down under.